House Speaker John Boehner has named 8 members to a proposed conference committee that would hash out the differences between the House and Senate versions of the payroll tax deal. But there's a huge wrinkle. Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid is sticking to his earlier warning that he will not name Democratic conferees. And he's dismissed the idea of the committee altogether. Where do we go from here? Republican Congressman Tom Price from Georgia is one of the conferees to the proposed committee. Congressman, thanks for joining me. I want to read you something from the Wall Street Journal, the opinion page, not a conservative opinion page. Republicans also failed to put together a unified House and Senate strategy. If Republicans didn't want to extend the payroll tax cut, they should have put together a strategy and the arguments for defeating it and explained why. Now, that's the Wall Street Journal. This is not a liberal opinion page. Why didn't you explain better why you didn't want to do this?
Well, there are Republicans and Democrats in Washington, but there's also a House and the Senate. The fact of the matter is that we have differences. I know that you know, but your listeners may not know that the House actually passed a payroll, a jobs bill the week before the Senate did. And ours extended the payroll tax holiday for a year, a full $1,000, extended federal unemployment benefits, and made it so that physicians would know they're going to get paid for their seeing seniors for 2 years instead of 2 months. So there's a difference. And the way that you sort out differences here in Washington is a conference committee. I'm not certain what they're afraid of would come out of that conference committee. It's the normal processes, and it's the way you reach decisions here in Washington, or should.
Congressman, what I keep coming back to, and I hear you on the conference committee, but what I keep coming back to is 89 senators voted for this, including 39 Republicans. Eric Cantor, John Boehner, Mitch McConnell all met on Friday night, and then the Senate voted. Was there a misunderstanding here? Because there were plenty of Republicans who voted for this 2-month extension, seeming to that was the compromise bill. Was there a misunderstanding between Mitch McConnell and John Boehner and Eric Cantor?
Well, I can't speak to that, but I do know that the House Republican Conference and the Speaker has always been resolute about saying, and the President, as a matter of fact, has been resolute about saying, look, this needs to be at least a year. The President, as recently as last week, said, we're going to stay in town until we get this solved for a year. That's what the House did. We passed the bill that covers it for a year for payroll tax holiday and the unemployment benefits, and 2 years for Medicare payments for physicians for seeing seniors. So the solution is there. The question isn't whether or not we're going to extend these things. The question is, how long is it going to be? And that's why you have a conference committee.
Now, Congressman, I want to play you something that John McCain, you mentioned the Senate versus the House. I want to play something that John McCain, Arizona Republican, your nominee in 2008, had to say about House Republicans voting down the deal.
It seems to me that Republican leaders and Harry Reid and the Speaker and Congresswoman Pelosi should sit down together with the administration and figure out a way through this. It is harming the Republican Party.
That last line, it is harming the Republican Party. Do you agree?
No, not at all. It's all right for them to sit down. But look, the normal processes throughout the history of this country, over 200 years, is that if the House passes a bill, which we did, and the Senate passes a bill, which they did, and they're different, the way that you sort out those differences is in a conference committee. This is pretty basic stuff. This isn't complicated.
Let me just interrupt. Again, I take your point, but we're 10 days away from 160 million Americans seeing a tax increase, something neither Democrats nor Republicans, my guess, want politically. Absolutely. Do we have time for a conference committee? Aren't there times in which you have to go beyond what the traditional way of doing business is in order to get this done so people don't get hit in their pocketbooks on the first day of the new year?
Well, we think there's more than enough time, without a doubt. As a physician, I certainly worked through Christmases and New Year's in the past. But we know that none of this will happen unless the President and Senator Reid agree that we ought to have conferees. We can't talk to the wall. Look, legislative business is not solitaire. It requires two parties. And again, this is pretty simple, basic stuff. It's in every civics class. It's in every government class on American politics. Senate passes a bill. House passes a bill. You come to a conference committee.
Congressman Tom Price, making me think of the How a Bill Becomes a Law song. That's Thank you. Have a good day.